Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome in SC 100 Microsoft Cybersecurity Architect Training Days. I'm very glad to see you all here. So, without any further delay, let's start this session. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Saurabh Srivastava, and currently in my current organization, I'm working as technical lead. I have in total more than 16 plus years of experience in production and in corporate training deliveries. In my past experience, I served different roles like architect, senior consultant, SME for different kind of Microsoft products. So my experience is mainly moving around Azure Cloud, Microsoft 365, Office 365, messaging, communication, and these kind of products. I am CT, Microsoft Certified Trainer since last 11 years, and I have certifications mainly in Microsoft technologies. So let's start what we have in SC100. So every day we are going to cover some discussions in our 2-hour session, and there would be some homework that you guys will be completing in your free time. So first of all, we are going to talk about what we have in our day-to-day agenda for this 5-day session related to SC100. So first of all, when we talk about day one, in day one, we'll talk about some topics moving around what we have in Zero Trust, what different kind of capabilities we have, what comes in Zero Trust Principle, deployment guidance, and what is RAM. We'll also talk about what comes in CAF, Cloud Adoption Framework, and Well-Architected Framework, WAF. We'll also discuss about what comes in MCRA, Microsoft Cybersecurity Reference Architecture, and Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark, MCSB. So the discussion today will be moving around related to these topics. Now, there are homework you have to complete. These homeworks are written here. So here you will complete some homework in your free time related to design a resiliency strategy for ransomware and other attacks based on Microsoft security best practices. Here we have different kind of topics like common cyber threats and attack patterns, ransomware protection, design solutions for business continuity and disaster recovery, BCDR, including secure backup and restore for hybrid and multi-cloud environments. Also, you'll cover evaluate solutions for security updates. So these are different kind of topics that you have to complete in your homework activity using Microsoft Learn, using SC100, Microsoft official page. There we have all these topics are listed. So this is something that what we have in day one agenda. Day two, tomorrow we will cover some topics moving around design solutions for regulatory compliance. Here we talk about what kind of regulatory compliance concept we have, what we have in Purview, in Microsoft Purview solutions, what comes in Microsoft Priva, what we have in Azure policy to address security and compliance requirements. And we'll also talk about evaluate infrastructure compliance by using Microsoft Defender for Cloud. These all things we discuss here under regulatory compliance discussion. We'll also talk about what kind of design solutions for identity and access management we have. Here we'll talk about what comes under identity and access management. We'll also discuss topics moving around software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service, including hybrid, on-prem, and multi-cloud environment. We have topic also related to securing Active Directory domain service, what comes under in B2B and B2C design, what we have in modern authentication, authorization strategy, including conditional access, continuous access evaluation, multi-factor authentication. These all things comes under in this design solutions for identity and access management discussion. Definitely here we have homework for you. This homework includes lots of different topics. Once again, in these two main topics, design solutions for securing privileged access, we have some topics available for you that you will be completing under your homework activity. Also under design solutions for security operations, here we have introduction to SecOps, security operations, what comes under Microsoft Purview audit, what we have in SIEM solutions, including design and evaluate threat protection coverage by using MITRE ATT&CK matrix, including cloud, enterprise mobile, industrial control system, and many other different discussions moving around Microsoft Purview, Azure policy, Microsoft different types of cloud. These all different topics you have to complete under your homework activity. And definitely, if you want to perform some activities, we have some hands-on activities, lab related to identity and governance, risk and compliance available in basically in GitHub. You will find the step-by-step guidance for these. But you know, this SC100 is a kind of course that is designed for security architects, security maybe lead consultants. So this course is designed for mainly to understand what kind of design considerations we have. So if you want to perform hands-on activity, we have some activities are there, but mainly here we discuss about what different kind of options we have, what different kind of solutions we have that will fit under any kind of design and solution in your cloud deployment, cloud management, and especially moving around Microsoft Azure and 365 security. On day 3, we'll talk about these two main topics, design solutions for securing Microsoft 365, and we have topic under design solutions for securing applications. So in the first one, basically we talk about what comes under Microsoft Defender XDR solutions. Here we talk about what kind of options we have, basically evaluate solutions for securing data in Microsoft 365 using Microsoft Purview, what we have under Microsoft Copilot, and especially that is designed for Microsoft services. We'll also talk about Microsoft Defender for Office 365 and Microsoft Defender for cloud apps, including Microsoft Intune discussions moving around. Also, we discuss what comes under application security. If you are in a kind of application development, design, application development environment, we have multi phases. We have many different phases where we see that developers are developing the applications. We'll talk about what different kind of issues and challenges we may face there, what kind of security considerations we should follow in these kind of application development process. So basically this topic will be moving around what we have under design security lifecycle strategy for applications, design a solution for API management and security, designing a solution for secure access to the applications. Also, we'll talk about what options we have to design a solution for workload identity to authenticate and access Azure cloud resources, and for sure, how you can secure applications by using web application firewall. These are different topics that we are going to discuss on day 3, and you have some homework activity here. This homework activity is mainly moving around design solutions for securing an organization's data. So what comes under data security, what comes under like evaluate solutions for encryption of data at rest and in transit, including Azure Key Vault and infrastructure encryptions. What kind of options we have in securing Azure storage, what options we have under Defender for SQL and Defender for storage. These all things we have under homework for this day 3. Now, so here in day 4, we'll talk about some more topics under our discussion. That would be specify requirements for securing SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS services. Now here, we'll talk about what kind of security options we have for securing SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. What kind of baseline for IoT workloads we have, security baseline. We'll talk about security requirements for web workload, what comes under container orchestrations. These are all things we discuss here under this topic. We'll also include how we can enhance security posture in hybrid and multi-cloud environment. What comes under MCSB, how we can evaluate and design cloud security posture in Defender for Cloud, designing a solution for integrating hybrid and multi-cloud environment by using Azure Arc. What is external attack surface management? And these related topics will cover on day 4. And now this is homework, what you will complete in your free time. So here this is related to securing server and client endpoints. So this will be moving around endpoint security, what kind of security baseline for server and client endpoint you can configure, what kind of options we have for designing a solution for secure remote access, what we have under labs, local admin password solution, evaluating solution for securing OT, operation technology, and industrial control system, ICS, by using Microsoft Defender for IoT. Also in securing the access, securing the network, what we have under Security Service Edge, SSE. So for network security, here we talk about where we can use this kind of SSE option, what comes under intra-global secure access, and evaluate solution that use Microsoft intra-internet access, and especially for Microsoft services, cross-tenant configurations. These all things we discuss. Basically, this is something related to homework that you will complete. On day 5th, we have exam prep session. So here we will revise everything what we have covered maybe the last 4 days, and we'll talk about some certification overview. I'll talk about what different kind of helpful resources we have for C100 exam preparation, and some question and answer would be there for a quick knowledge check. That is for day 5 agenda that we will complete. Now today is day 1, and we are going to start with what we have in our day 1 agenda. In day 1, we will cover these topics: introduction to zero trust and best practice framework, design solutions that align with cloud adoption framework, CAF, and well-architected framework, WAF, and design solutions that align with Microsoft Cybersecurity Reference Architecture, MCRA, and Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark, MCSB. Let's see what we have in this. So here we'll start with this learning path, that is design solutions that align with security best practices, priorities. And here the first topic that is related to zero trust and best practice frameworks. Let's see what we have in this. Now, so when we talk about introduction to best practices, what we have, the most important role that what we see in any organization that is responsible for overall security and implementing the solutions, recommending the solutions, that is security architect role. Security architect role is responsible especially to convert what kind of organizations requirements we have into technical documentation, into technical deployments, what kind of solutions may be fitting in based on organization's need. These all things comes under security architects, security architects' roles and responsibilities. These guys are very much responsible to communicate to almost all the different levels in organization, like senior leadership, to technical managers, to security practitioners, to implementation team, and they help to all these teams, not only in understanding, in implementation, in deployment, but also if they are going to recommend something in any organization, they would be responsible to make this justified that what they are presenting as solution, this is going to be properly aligned with organization's need. So this is very important. And this is, you can say, a very very important role where we have lots of responsibilities. So if you're working as a kind of security architect, you have lots of responsibility on your shoulders. Now, so when you move ahead, as security architect, or even in any organization, we should always follow best practices. And we should always avoid any kind of NT pattern. So what is best practice? Best practices are the recommendations. The recommendations from the product designing company, or maybe from the vendor, from any kind of suppliers. Everybody, they have their own best practices. If you are going to use any solution, we should always follow the best practices, what will definitely resolve any kind of issue, or this will try to avoid mistakes, avoid any kind of problem in that solution. So it doesn't matter. If you're using product from Microsoft, you have best practices available for different kind of products differently. We should always follow the best practices to avoid any kind of future issues, future challenges. So best practices are recommended ways to do the things that have been found to be most effective or efficient. So if you are following best practices, you will have a very tuned product environment where that will be working very well based on your requirements, based on your what you're expecting from that product. That would be very useful and very effective. But sometimes in organization, we start following the NT patterns. And NT patterns are not good for the organization, not good for the product. So generally, what are the NT patterns? NT patterns are the common mistakes that we maybe intentionally or unintentionally following it. And that would be leading to negative outcomes. So you can say this is a kind of opposite to the best practices. So what are these? What kind of options we have in this? Let's see. So especially when you talk about common security NT patterns and technical architecture kind of understanding. So what we see here, generally, if we talk about common mistakes, like for example, skipping the basic maintenance. Skipping the basic maintenance is definitely not a good idea, not a good activity. Like skipping the backups, disaster recovery exercises, and software updates, patching. This should be always there. Because in new patches, in new updates, maybe vendor is presenting you different kind of security patches that will resolve any kind of issues or challenges, or maybe that security patch is going to prevent future attacks. So you should always follow these kind of activities. But if you're skipping it, this is a kind of NT pattern. Securing cloud like on premises. On-prem and cloud, both are the different environments. In on-prem, you have more control on your data center, on your devices, services, applications. In cloud, you have control shared between Microsoft and you. There are many things where you don't have direct access in cloud. So if you try to control, if you try to secure your cloud instances, cloud tenant, similar to your on-prem environment, that would not be possible. So we have to understand that in cloud environment where we have my tenant, our, our tenant there would be some kind of security control that is open for the customer. We can only use that. But in the backend, if you talk about data center security, physical security of the devices and infrastructure, that would be in Microsoft hands. Other NT patterns, what we see, wasting resources on legacy. If you have legacy system, legacy application system, legacy database system, legacy directory system, and if you are going to manage it, or if you want to keep managing it, maybe over time you have to put more efforts, more money you have to invest in this to manage these legacy systems. It's better to move towards new environment, new solutions where we have less management and we have to invest less time and efforts. Next is artisan security. If you want to customize everything, that is a kind of NT pattern. Sometimes we have to follow what kind of guidelines, what kind of security implementations we have along with the product. Customizing or changing or maybe configuring everything manually. If you're looking for that kind of things, that would be challenging. Disconnected security approach. If different products, owners, teams, they are working independently, in that situation, we will have issue where these teams are not synchronized together. And sometimes their security control, security configurations are going to conflict to each other. So these kind of things we have to keep in mind that in any organization related to security, we should have connected approach. It means all the teams, all different kind of product owners, they should be communicating to security team effectively in case if they want to make any changes, if they want to modify something. So especially for security, they should have a kind of connected approach. They should be communicating to each other very well. They should be working together. And this will give a kind of centralized design where any changes will be updated to all the other team members. Now, also, the last one is lack of commitment to life cycle. Here, if you're treating security controls and processes as a point in time instead of an ongoing life cycle, this is a problem. Security implementation, security control, this is a kind of ongoing process. You have to keep improving. You have to check what kind of new options, new solutions we have, and accordingly, you have to move ahead. It's not something that you are going to configure one time and now this is going to work for years. No. Everything in security moves around a kind of life cycle approach. We keep improving, we keep adding new solutions, new features, and in this way, we bring advanced security to the organization. So what are the best practices? What generally we should follow? We should follow in technical security strategy, this approach in our organization that is aligned towards zero trust principle. So definitely we should always follow what kind of asset-centric security options we have. consistent principle-driven approach. What we have in pragmatic prioritization based on attacker motivations, behavior, and return on investments. Many different kind of recommendations we have that we should follow. Now, so we should always look into what kind of best practices we have available related to any product that we are going to use in our organization. And generally, you should avoid these kind of NT patterns, what you're seeing. So these are not only the list, what we see in NT patterns, but there may be many other NT patterns that any organization will be following unintentionally. So we have to look into that. If anything, any kind of gaps we have, any kind of missing configurations or missing behavior we have to look into that. We have to bring it forward and always, establish the guidelines. So this is the responsibility of security architects, security designers in the organization, that they have to look into these kind of areas. So when we talk about a security strategy, what we see in any organization, we may receive different kind of issues and risks. So where we should focus mainly, that we have to understand using this slide, we should always focus on the risks that is more, we can say, impacting to your organization more, and maybe that is going to impact your organization's data, organization's functionality. So you can understand here that we can divide any risk in two different kind of plane, like impact and likelihood. Like here we have impact minor, moderate, and major impact. Likelihood is unlikely, likely, and very likely. Generally, if any risk is in minor condition, and this is unlikely to happen, you can keep them in green category. Like till moderate until this likely, you can see these green category. These are sometimes acceptable. But warning signal start coming under when any kind of risk is in very likely and going under major category, impacting your organization at a very great level. So in that situations, we have to see the alarming situation. We have to start acting on, especially any unacceptable risk, in maybe in a very extreme conditions, what we see here. So these are different kind of risks under impact and likelihood. So especially this area is something that where we have to start working on. In every organization, they would have these kind of metrics. They would be using this kind of design. And maybe in some organization, they say, okay, I'm only focusing on what comes in this kind of unacceptable risk, high 3 here, and this red unacceptable risk, extreme 5. But we are not interested to see these kind of, or investigate what comes under in this medium 2. But some organization, they would be interested to investigate why we are seeing these medium 2 acceptable risk, you can say signals, or these kind of issues we are seeing. So every company should plan that how they want to react. Now, so when we move ahead, question is what different kind of security approach we have, what different kind of best practice principle we have that will secure my organization, secure my cloud environment. So here we have zero trust principle. We'll talk about what kind of deployment guide and ramp we have. Let's see. So what is zero trust principle? You can say zero trust is a core component, core idea behind entire Microsoft cloud implementation. Doesn't matter, we are talking about infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, Azure, Microsoft 365, or whatever we have in cloud environment. Everything is designed based on this zero trust principle. Now, what this zero trust principle represents? Zero trust principle represents a very simple statement. Never trust, always verify. So it doesn't matter whatever we have in cloud. We have Azure, we have different solutions there, we have different services there. We have Microsoft 365, we have different kind of other products. Everywhere we are following zero trust principle. It means we are verifying every connection request, every access request explicitly. And this is very strong concept. Doesn't matter if any connection, if any access is already enabled on something, basis on that access, it's not something that we are providing access to other resources without verifying. In zero trust approach, we follow that every time when any connection or any access requests are coming towards cloud, that should be verified. And for that, we have different solutions in Azure Cloud and Microsoft 365. We'll talk about where we have different kind of solutions that will help us in these kind of explicit verification. Also, zero trust principle is based on using least privilege access. So wherever is possible, we have to follow least privilege design, never assign any kind of unnecessary access to any resource, to anyone, and we have to always follow RBAC, rule-based access control. For advanced security, we can move towards JIT, just-in-time access, just enough access. Also moving towards adaptive policies, adaptive controls. So utilizing different kind of concept, different kind of security approach, we can achieve least privilege access design. And this is logical as well. If somebody is in the need of accessing maybe any kind of file, then why you are providing the entire directory access? So it doesn't matter what kind of resource, what kind of services you have in cloud, and you are granting these access to someone, always look into that what kind of access or what level of access that person in the need. Also, we should always follow this concept, assume breach. If you assume breach, if you think about that every connection, every new access request is a kind of attack, so you'll be planning your organization, your cloud security in that way, using almost all the security options. Doesn't matter for identity, for network, for user, for maybe for devices, what different kind of fields we have in cloud, we will start using security solutions for all these. And what it does, this will definitely reduce the blast radius of any kind of attack pattern. And there are many different things that comes in picture. From network perspective, we should follow different kind of network considerations like segmentation, using different kind of concepts like network security group, application security group, using firewalls. If we talk about data, we should think about what kind of encryption options we have for maybe data at rest, data in transit, and using different kind of other solutions in devices, in applications, in infrastructure as a service, platform as a service. So our deployment approach should be like what we have in our cloud environment. If anybody is requesting any access, so that access is a kind of maybe attack pattern. So we should have all the security approach implemented, security solutions implemented that will stop these kind of maybe unauthenticated, any kind of bad request in the starting. So here, when we talk about zero trust is basically based on 6 different pillars. In these 6 different pillars, identity, endpoint, data, applications, infrastructure, and network security comes in picture. So in cloud, we look into what different kind of security approach we have for these different kind of 6 pillars. So there are different solutions, different services, different components are designed to provide you security around all these different kind of 6 different pillars. To understand this, you can see here in zero trust architecture, we have identity, endpoint, data, applications, infrastructure, and network. These are 6 different pillars, and these are connected to each other. For example, I have data, okay, and I want to access this data differently. Data access will start from I should have a valid identity. I will send request. So here, my identity solutions, they will start checking the authentication, authorization. This will also analyze what different kind of policies we have in the backend. If my traffic is secure or not, that will be checked by network, and then this will go to the data. This will check if you are authorized to access it or not. If the data is secure, if data is encrypted. There are lots of things comes in picture. Maybe if you are accessing the data from any device, that may be your corporate device or personal device, if your device is healthy or not, if your device is compliant or not. Many things comes in picture, then only you will be able to access data, access the applications or any infrastructure. So zero trust model moves around all these 6 main pillars, and there are many solutions. There are many different kind of cloud solutions that we consider if you want to enable security, enhance security in all these different kind of 6 components. Just to give you idea, a summary, these are different kind of components that we can consider. These are, you can say, the main components. These are not only the list. Apart from that, we have some kind of components that will be involved in different kind of 6 pillars. But for identity, for secure identity, securing identity at this stage, we have Microsoft Intra ID. We have identity protection options. We have workload identity options. We have governance and defender for identity solutions that we can consider to enhance security moving around identity pillar. About endpoint, we have Intune, where we can control devices. We can manage devices based on compliance policies, security policies, and many other things. Also for device security, endpoint security, we have defender for endpoint that we consider. For network components, we have Azure networking, where we have different kind of components comes into picture like NSG, ASGs, segmentations, subnetting, public and private access, public and private IP addresses. These all things comes under a network. We can also consider Microsoft Intra conditional access that will authorize the connections or authorize the access. Also considering intra internet and intra private access that comes under Microsoft Intra global access design. This can provide traffic segmentations, traffic filtering, and security. Also, for data, what we have in cloud, we can consider Defender for Office 365, Microsoft Purview, Microsoft Priva, and encryptions, labeling, classifications. These things comes under data security. Then we talk about applications, like if you talk about software as a service applications or on-prem. Definitely, we have Defender for cloud apps for SaaS applications. If you are in application development, GitHub, advanced security options, these all things we can utilize to enhance security around applications. Then for infrastructure, where we have virtual machines, containers, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, we can use Defender for cloud, MDC, using Azure Arc, Defender for APIs. These all things comes under infrastructure related security. Also, when we talk about threat protection, in threat protection, we have Microsoft Defender family, where we have Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Office 365, Defender for Identity, Defender for Cloud Apps, Defender for Cloud. These all things comes under Defender family, and these we use in different situations. Like here, we have Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Identity. We have Defender for Office 365, Defender for Cloud Apps, Defender for Cloud. These are being used in different kind of locations, different players, in different pillars. Now, we have different solutions that we can use in these different 6 pillars. But also, we can collect data logs from all these places, and we can analyze them in our own SIEM and SOAR solution, that is Microsoft Sentinel. Collecting data and performing advanced analytics, advanced hunting is possible using this Microsoft product that is known as Microsoft Sentinel. So this is something that we have 6 different pillars, and these 6 pillars are being used in a way where we have different solutions, different components that we can utilize in different like identity, endpoint, network, data, applications, and infrastructure plane. So if you come back to this, we have different kind of technology pillars, 6 different pillars, where we have identity. The objective in this identity is to secure your cloud identity and provide accurate and you can say valid access who is accessing any data and resource. Definitely for this, we have different kind of options. So in identity, the deployment objective should be maybe federating cloud identities with on-prem identity system if you want to use any kind of directory synchronization. You can get access and provide remediation with conditional access policies. Also including MFA to enhance security. And definitely we can collect data in Microsoft monitoring. Through analytics, we can see the informations, logs related to these identities. Then we have additional deployment objectives like manage identity and access privilege with identity governance. We can analyze user, device, location, and behavior in real time using different kind of identity protection options. Also integrate threat signals from other security solutions to improve detections. So these are different kind of other different kind of objectives that we should consider while deploying identity-related zero trust approach. And for that, what we can use? We have different solutions. We have Microsoft Intra ID. We have Microsoft Intra Identity Protection, workload identities. We have Defender for Identity option that we were seeing in previous slide. Now for endpoint, the initial or primary deployment objective is something register endpoints with cloud identity providers. Registering devices is very important. When you register the device, you will have control, you will have visibility of that device, where you can see what kind of challenges or issues we have. Also, then you can go for granting access only to the cloud managed and compliant endpoints. Maybe you can plan, okay, I am planning to provide my organization data and resource access only to the valid and compliant devices. That controls you can implement when you have devices registered, added in your cloud monitoring, cloud management system. Then what other things we have? Additionally, you can plan for using endpoint threat detections, and also using risk to access control for corporate devices and BYOD. Additional things we can add. We'll talk about what different kind of activities, additional different kind of tools and services we have that we can use. Now, for data, we can definitely plan for classifying the data and labeling the data. Data classification is very important because in any organization, there would be different kind of data like general data, confidential, highly confidential, secret data. So we should have clear visibility what type of data we have in our organization and what kind of label should be there. Once we have classification, we can plan for encryptions, access control, and maybe content marking as well. For example, there is a need that all secret documents should have a kind of watermark on all the documents like secret. So any user, any person they will get this information very easily. But this is a secret document. We should be very careful while using or handling it. So definitely for this, we have labeling options. We have sensitive data classifications options. We can also include DLP, data loss prevention, if we are looking into any kind of data overexposure control. I want to control my data should not be shared outside, or maybe any sensitive data should not be shared even inside. These things we can achieve using DLP options, DLP policies. These all things like DLP, sensitivity labels, or even for data, we can plan for how long I want to keep it. That comes under governance, especially for the retentions. These all things we can use under data plane, under data related considerations. So these are three: identity, endpoint, and data. Now, what about others? Now we have applications, infrastructure, and network. In application, definitely we should have some initial objective like gain visibility into activities and data in your applications by connecting them via APIs. So when we are deploying applications, when we are using APIs, we should have monitoring system that is going to monitor every request, every access, every connection request. So we can see the analytics, we can see the visibility on this. And these visibilities, these kind of data will help us to understand what kind of activities are going on. Also, we can use shadow IT to discover and control the use of different kind of, you can say, different type of activities and behavior. And for that, we have very good tool. We call it Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps that we use for shadow IT. Also, protecting sensitive information and activities automatically by implementing policies. We have to look into that what different options we can use for this kind of objective to achieve. So definitely we have Defender products, Defender family product, Defender for cloud apps that we can use for protecting sensitive informations. We can also integrate DLP options in this, data loss preventions. So these are different kind of objectives that you see in applications. And definitely you can go for other additional deployment objectives like deploying adaptive access, session control for applications using conditional access. Also, you can use strong protection against cyber threats. So different kind of advanced security options we should look into, that what kind of options we have available and what we can use. Now for infrastructure, definitely in infrastructure as a service in IS, first of all, we have to monitor different kind of workloads, looking into what different kind of behavior we have. So whenever you are going to deploy infrastructure related components, we should look into that we are not, leaving any kind of loophole or any kind of misconfiguration we have in that resource. And for that, we use Microsoft Defender for Cloud that gives us recommendations related to security recommendations related to our different kind of products and implementations. Also, we can consider for these kind of resources and infrastructure, we should have always least privilege model, not providing unnecessary access to, you can say, to any kind of user or admin unnecessarily. So following just-in-time access, just enough access to resources will help to enhance security. Definitely, we can plan for additional deployment objectives, blocking unauthorized deployment. Using Azure policy, I can control that if anybody who is not allowed to deploy any resource, whenever he is trying to do this, there would be error message that under policy, this resource or this activity cannot be performed. And definitely monitoring a granular visibility is very important. Also for the network, initial deployment objective would be always like segmenting the network, like creating small segments. That segments we can control with different kind of policy, different kind of network controls. So segmenting and using different kind of network security group, application security group, firewall options. These all things we can use to control traffic, and also we can reduce the blast radius. We have many other solutions where we can use encryption options for network traffic. For example, if I'm going to configure any API or application, and there I am going to open that connection can be established by using HTTP. So that is a kind of a non, you can say is a kind of not a secure method. But what if I have the option there for that application, I can enforce that every connection, what this application will accept, that should be only HTTPS or HTTP secure. So in this case, I am implementing enhanced security for that connection. So we have different options. We should think about how we can enhance security for my network, for my components where these kind of network traffics are involved. We can also configure or we can segment internet traffic and maybe private or internal traffic based on different kind of recommendations. Like for example, if there's any resource in your organization and there's no need to expose that resource to the internet, then why you are enabling public IP for that resource? Also, if possible, if any kind of traffic exchange we have between the resources or between maybe a resource and we have some internet traffic, we can design, we can be sure that all traffic should be in an encrypted format for more security. So these different kind of objectives we see in this network pillar, and we have different solutions for that to achieve it. So these are different things that what we see here in Zero Trust in 6 different pillars. But Zero Trust approach is a kind of, you can say, is a very detailed and lots of components comes in picture. Now, for example, you are going to start in cloud. Are you going to deploy Zero Trust for each and every resources, and then only you will start using cloud services or presenting the cloud services to your employees? Maybe Zero Trust implementation may take months. So because zero trust is a kind of ongoing process, is a kind of ongoing, or you can say is a time-taking process, granularly in a granular approach, we will move ahead to these zero trust approach over time. But if you want to start in cloud, we have zero trust RAM, rapid modernization plan. Rapid modernization plan, this helps us to adopt cloud based on zero trust model as soon as possible. It means if any organization they want to start in cloud, they can start with zero trust ramp first, and then over time they can go for implementing zero trust approach for different pillars, maybe in a kind of life cycle approach. So in zero trust ramp, what we see, we have some top priorities. We should start with user access and productivity, where we can start with like user account should have passwordless or MFA. Endpoint should have, they should be integrated with Defender for endpoint components. Applications, they should have VPN authentications. They should have application proxy. Network, they should have, basic traffic filtering, segmentations. For data compliance and governance, we should have backup enabled to deal with ransomware. We should have data where we can definitely go for discovering, classifying the data that which are our sensitive data using Microsoft information protection options, Defender for cloud apps. In modern security, streamlining the response, unify visibility, reduce manual effort. So basically, we have to go for applying the approach, what we can deploy in less time and with less efforts, and you can say less manpower. So we can implement this in very initial phase for all these, and then as needed for infrastructure and DevOps security, for OT and IoT security, we can plan for this and we can start using cloud. Now, on top of it, we can move ahead to deploy other zero trust approach over time. So RAMP is good for the organizations where they want to rapidly adopt zero trust approach and they want to start using the cloud solutions. So zero trust rapid modernization plan initiatives. This is good for early stage in your zero trust journey. This is designed for quick adoption, adopting the most important components for user security, for device security, for infrastructure security. So basically here we have a list of checklists that you can follow. You can find this checklist under Microsoft documentation, what comes in Zero Trust RAMP. So you can follow that checklist and you can rapidly implement that in that kind of requirements, that kind of recommendations. And over time, you can move towards zero trust deployment. That is a very comprehensive guide. And this is going to give you different kind of recommendations and solutions and checklists for very comprehensive 6 pillars related checklist, 6 different pillars related recommendations. So we can consider RAMP if we want to follow, if we want to move ahead with this kind of implementations. Now next is, so here the goal is we have to basically follow zero trust everywhere in entire cloud environment. So whatever you have in your control, you have access to the data, network components, and user identities, applications, infrastructure. You should plan for that. But there are many things that is hidden. For example, if you talk about what about the data center physical devices? What about Microsoft data centers components where I don't have access? If Microsoft is following zero trust, there are not. Definitely, yes, they are following their own zero trust model approach for the data center design and implementations, or especially for all the components and services, what is hidden are not available to the customer. But you don't need to worry about. They are taken care of based on whatever different kind of approach and design they have. And you have to manage, you have to implement what different kind of solutions and features you have available from your customer level access. So there are different kind of false assumptions. These assumptions are security is the opposite of productivity. No, security is not the opposite of productivity. Security will enhance, you can say, data security, where your data infrastructure or different components, they will not be impacted with any kind of issue and challenges or attack. Think about a situation that you are in this false assumption that if we implement security, my organization's productivity will be down. Okay, so you're not implementing security. And what if one day you see a kind of attack towards your organization, and that is going to shut down the operation for next 1 week? In that situation, your organization is not working for 1 week, and that may be $1 billion loss for the organization. So security is not the opposite of productivity. Security is definitely going to enhance the productivity. Another false assumption is all attacks can be prevented. No, we have to follow a kind of approach where we are enhancing security over time, because it may be possible, and we all are from IT, and we know that over the internet, in IT industry, we see different kind of attack pattern, new and different attack patterns. These are, being introduced in industry over time. Maybe what kind of attack patterns we are seeing right now, that may be old, and maybe after 2 to 3 months, you will see a new attack patterns. So it's a kind of, you can say a continuous head-to-head fight between security solutions and the attack patterns, what hackers or attackers are designing. So we have to keep enhancing security solutions over time. But definitely, all attacks can be prevented is a kind of false assumption. You can't be 100% proof. So in that situation, you should be ready for the situation where you are attacked. For example, any company is, after all the different kind of security solutions and everything, maybe because of a loophole, they are attacked with a ransomware attack. In that situation, they should have backup of the data so they can restore it from there. If you say, okay, I am very much secure and there's no option, there's no chance that we will get ransomware attack, and maybe based on that assumption, you have never created a backup of the data, and you are going to see a kind of ransomware attack. In that situation, you will be in a place where you don't have backup, and even you can't use the data because of the ransomware attack. So we have to always keep in mind that we have to keep enhancing security and the different kind of security features, and it's a kind of ongoing process. Another false assumption, network security perimeter will keep attackers out. No. Sometimes we see attacker from inside, not only the attack from outside. Also, passwords are strong enough. No, passwords are not strong enough. We should look into other verification methods like enhancing verification with conditional access, multi-factor authentication, or password-less approach for the authentication. IT admins are safe? No, IT admins are more vulnerable because IT admins, they have more rights. So sometimes attackers, they target the IT admins if they will get any kind of access to that IT admin account, they will have more rights in comparison to if they're trying to access any normal user or employee account. Your IT infrastructure is safe. No, IT infrastructure is not safe, but we have to keep improving. We have to keep improving security. Because again, this is again in the same kind of concept, like if we have new attack patterns, so we have to think about that situation as well. Now, developers always write secure code. No, sometimes whatever the developers, they are writing the code. In that code, we have some kind of malicious code syntax, or maybe in a kind of CI/CD pipeline, attackers or hackers, they are going to gain access and they are ingesting their own malicious code. So in the development activities, also we should think about the security implementation and security operations. The software and the components we use are secure. It's not true all the time. If you're using any application or services, it may be possible that application or services are not secure by default, but we have to configure security around them. So here different kind of false assumptions we see, and we have to plan accordingly that what we can definitely enhance. So if you follow the zero trust approach, you'll be able to enhance security using different kind of solutions and services in all different kind of 6 pillars. So here, using zero trust, we can definitely go for business enablement, aligning security to the organization's need, what they are looking for, what kind of business they have. Because zero trust assumes breach and compromises. So we can use zero trust to continuously reduce the blast radius and attack surface. We can configure access control, security operations, infrastructure security, development security under zero trust and different layers, different kind of pillars for applications, for network, for infrastructure. We can implement security there. So when you follow zero trust approach, zero trust checklists, you'll be implementing security around these different kind of components and services. Now moving to the next, we have CAF, Cloud Adoption Framework, and well-architected framework. What comes in CAF and WAF? Let's see. So first of all, Cloud Adoption Framework. Now, what is Cloud Adoption Framework? Basically, Cloud Adoption Framework is a kind of guidance. If your organization wants to adopt cloud, there would be a situation where they would be thinking how we have to start. From where we have to start. Suppose there's a company that is completely in on-prem design. They have everything in on-prem, like Active Directory system, their applications, their third-party solutions, or emailing system, or any other. If they want to adopt cloud, they want to start using Azure Cloud, Microsoft 365, how they will move ahead. If there is any kind of approach, step-by-step guidance that we can follow. So answer is yes, we have this Cloud Adoption Framework. Cloud Adoption Framework is a collection of methodologies. These kind of methodologies we can use to, we can move ahead, or starting with cloud adoption. There are many different kind of components in this. There are, you can say, adoption phase, there are migration phase, there are security phase. So we can follow all these methodologies to adopt all these kind of cloud activities. And step by step, we can move towards cloud. So what are these in this? Let's talk about these different kind of components. So in cloud adoption, basically is a full lifecycle framework where we have the first stage is define a strategy. then plan, ready, adopt. So there are many different stages that we follow to start adopting the cloud environment. So basically in define strategy, we start, looking into what kind of requirements we have in our organization, understanding the motivations, moving towards cloud, what kind of business outcome we have, business justification, and what kind of project priorities we have. These all things comes under in this planning phase. In next phase, we start collecting data, like what kind of digital state we have in our organization currently related to different applications and services, what kind of initial organization alignment we have, if my organization is ready for adopting cloud, or we have some kind of versions, some kind of components missing that will be a roadblocker for cloud adoption journey. Do we have a skill related to cloud if we are moving towards cloud environment? What kind of cloud adoption plan we have? These all things comes under this planning phase. Then we have ready stage, where we decide what kind of operating model I want to use. Azure landing zone is a concept under this cloud adoption framework that help us in deploying cloud components for my organization. Also, what design area guidance we have, implementation options, like what you want to implement. You start with IES, PaaS, SaaS, and any other solutions. Also, in adoption phase, if you have any kind of on-prem environment where you want to migrate data from on-prem to the cloud. Also, if you want to modernize, maybe you are using legacy systems and you want to modernize them in cloud. You want to innovate. Maybe you want to, add something new security solutions, new kind of application options you want to use. These all things comes under adoption phase. In this way, like using these different kind of stages, we can gradually move towards cloud adoption. And then we can plan for security, the management and governance for my cloud environment. So cloud adoption journey includes these all different kind of components together. We start from define strategy, then plan, then ready, then adopt, and then using security, management, and governance that we can start using after the adoption. So here we get guidelines. If you go to cloud adoption framework in Microsoft documentations, you see step-by-step guidance for every stage, for define strategy, for plan, for ready, for adopt. You get this for every stage documentation we have. This will guide you what kind of components should be configured, what kind of checklists you have. These all things comes under in a proper guidance. Now, what next we have? So when we talk about cloud adoption, because we are in SC100 training that is related to security. So what comes in cloud adoption framework and secure methodology here in this? Let's understand. So in secure methodology, we have some kind of guidelines, some kind of guidance that we should follow. So basically, security guidance is designed to enhance security in your cloud workload. So basically, this is the part of every phase of cloud adoption. Basically, if you talk about going back to this, the security, management, governance, this is involved in all these phases. But especially when you talk about the first phase or the second phase, their security, management, governance, that would be, you can say, used in a bit. They will have less exposure or less used. But when you go for ready and adopt, aggressively, we start using security, management, and governance concepts. So here, when we talk about CAF secure methodology, this cloud adoption framework gives you different kind of recommendations, different kind of, you can say, guidelines that we can follow to enhance security in all these stages. So whatever we have in this, in secure methodology in CAF, this is moving around zero trust framework for my all the 6 different pillars. Here, this cloud adoption journey, it includes security posture modernization, incident preparation and response, the CIA triad, CIA, that is confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information and resources. We have to maintain a balance between all these three. Also, security posture sustainment, like continuously improve security posture to protect against evolving cyber threats. These are the concepts, and for that we have different kind of solutions that we bring in. So that secure methodology we follow in all these phases, like strategy, plan, ready, adopt, even governance and management. Everywhere the secure methodology is being used. Now in this, we have something else, that is Cloud Adoption Security Review, CASR. What is CASR? Let's understand. Actually, when you go for deploying cloud environment, we plan for these cloud environment, like we start using Azure Landing Zone. Azure Landing Zone gives you a better control, better deployment in cloud. So in Azure Landing Zone, we have different kind of deployment like identity, infrastructure, many different kind of like policies, RBAC, many things we have. So we use Azure Landing Zone. Basically, Azure Landing Zone is a kind of framework. That framework we follow to deploy resources and components. Now here, the CASR is going to scan your Azure Landing Zone or the implemented resources automatically and gives you the recommendations, gives you the options that where we have different kind of challenges or issues. So you get the risk insights, what kind of security integrations we have, operational resilience, what we have. So when you have any landing zone deployed in deployment of the resources, CSR helps you in that kind of security review. This helps in designing access control, asset protection, enhancing security by assessing, by checking the entire Azure landing zone implementation. Now, what next we have in this? So next is Azure landing zone. So if you remember, if I go back to this here, landing zone is a concept under a ready phase where we start deploying the resources. Now, it's very simple to understand. Like, for example, if I talk about, I have to deploy 10 virtual machines, 5 storage accounts, 10 databases, 3 applications, 10 containerized system, maybe Azure container services. Maybe I have to deploy 3 firewalls, 5 load balancers. Now, question is, I have to implement this for different kind of domain, different kind of section in my organization. That would be working for some resources going to work for production environment. Something is going to work for development. Some resources are going to work for maybe where my any business partner and my company will be integrating together. They will be collaborating together. So are you going to deploy all these resources into one place under one logical container, under one logical virtual boundary? Answer is no. If we will have a different virtual boundary for different kind of resources, it would be easy to manage. So creating different kind of logical virtual boundary for the management, for the control is always logical. And for that purpose, when you go for deploying the resources in cloud, we follow this Azure landing zone concept. What comes in this Azure landing zone concept? Let's see. So basically, Azure landing zone is a kind of virtual security boundary. This boundary is based on subscription. Landing zone, they use subscription to isolate and scale application resources and platform resources. So basically, there are two types of landing zone we can create. The one is platform landing zone, and another one is application landing zone. If you are using a subscription that is going to work for identity, shared services, connectivity, these all things comes under platform landing zone design. When we talk about a subscription that is being used for hosting applications, provisioning code, management, assigning policies, that comes under application landing zone. And these are the part of ready phase of the cloud adoption framework. So here, when you talk about Azure landing zone design areas, what we see in Azure landing zone design areas, especially if you talk about environment design area, environment means the broader perspective with the broader design elements like intratenant, Azure billing, identity and access management, network topology and connectivity, resource organization. These are the, you can say, design areas that we configure, and maybe this is going to be used by other different kind of segments, other different subscriptions. Apart from that, we consider security, management, governance, and platform automation and DevOps in our compliance design areas. So landing zone is going to contain many different kind of design components, and we isolate different kind of resources by using the subscriptions. So how this looks like, what kind of things we have in this? So basically this looks like in this format here. A landing zone is a kind of virtual boundary based on a subscription where we have my resources, services, policies, applications, lots of things are working together. These are deployed here. So for example, in this landing zone, we have identity and access management, policies, we have applications, we have shared services, networking components. These all are working under this landing zone area, landing zone virtual boundary. But in this, there would be different kind of services that is shared services, like maybe Active Directory components, infrastructure as a service, networking component. These are shared services. This is not only being used here, but this is going to be used in other Azure landing zone subscriptions as well. But yes, in this virtual boundary, we can tune it, we can configure it for this landing zone environment. So landing zone gives you a better control area, better logical control environment for your resources, because this is based on the subscription. So we will have different billing boundary as well. It means whatever resources you have in this landing zone subscription, they will have different invoice. And if you have any other subscription, so that will have the different kind of invoicing or different billing options, depending on what resources you are going to deploy. So these are different kind of components that comes under landing zone, and this comes under ready phase of the cloud adoption journey. Now, what next we have? Next, we have introduction to well-architected framework. What comes under WAF? So similar to CAF, WAF is also kind of framework that we use, but we have difference. Basically, WAF is a kind of, you can say, is a kind of solution that we can use to assess our cloud environment based on best practices, based on recommendations, if we have implemented that kind of solutions or not, that kind of recommendations or not. So CAF gives you, Cloud Adoption Framework gives you multi-stage deployment guideline to adopt cloud, where WAF gives you information about, or this gives you a solution for assessing the environment if you have implemented the best practices for the cloud or not. Just for example, CAF, Cloud Adoption Framework, gives you information about how to deploy multi-factor authentication or conditional access, where WAF, well-architected framework, during the assessment, this may ask, have you implemented MFA and conditional access or not? And if not, this will give you some scoring for that this should be implemented. So basically, this is a kind of assessment, and we have a tool for that. It's a kind of web tool where we can access this free of cost, and we can assess our environment based on a series of questions related to 5 pillars: cost optimization, security, reliability, operational excellence, and performance efficiency. These are 5 pillars, and we can assess our cloud infrastructure for all, or if you want to go for any specific pillar assessment, you can also do this. So here, when we talk about security, because here we are in SC100, and this is related to cloud security. So when we talk about security pillar here, so in WAF security design principle, definitely we have lots of guidelines. And when we assess our environment based on the security guidelines, we have a series of questions that we have to answer, and we get assessment, we get a report, a kind of detailed information that what is missing, what you have to basically implement. So WAF is designed for, you can say, the roles in organization who are involved in security assessments, are looking into the what different kind of best practices are implemented or not in the organization. So they can use this tool to assess the environment. Like, there will be questions, and you have to answer very honestly that if we have implemented these things or not. So using this, you can plan your security readiness. So strive to adopt and implement security practices based on the security guidelines. You can protect confidentiality, protect integrity, protect availability, the CIA triad, and sustain and evolve your security posture. So something like, for example, if I talk about if I give you a kind of very simple example, suppose I'm going to buy any house, okay? So in that house perspective, what CAF represents, Cloud Adoption Framework says before entering in the house from the security perspective, you should have security tools implemented in that house, right? Like, for example, a strong lock, maybe camera system, CCTV camera system, and many other different kind of security components that you see there in any house. So CAP gives you the information about that, how to implement, what to implement in that house. Where WAF, well-architected framework, is a kind of person like auditor. This comes to you and asks, okay, do you have implemented or do you have installed a strong lock in your house or not? If you say no, then auditor will say, okay, you should have this. So we have assessment in WAF that we can follow for security for my cloud implementation. So what is currently implemented? Based on that, we can go for assessment, and then we can see other recommendations that what other things we can implement, what kind of extra things we can implement to enhance security. So how this tool looks like, let me show you. Basically, this tool is like something. This one is a kind of web-based tool, And when you talk about going for this well architect review website page, this asks you questions like, for example, you can see here for application design, can you scale the solution independently as logical scale units? Or maybe this question, does the application use a container orchestrator to manage and operate containers? So here you select the answers which all are true for your organization. In similar way, we have security related questions where we answer, and if you select none of the above or what is correct, you go for next. And in this way, when you answer the questions for security, you get a report for that what is missing, what you should implement. And this is really a great tool that we can use, especially security architects. They should use to check their current cloud posture, what kind of current implementation we have, what kind of missing configuration we have, what we should do using this tool. Now, moving toward next, what we have. So when we talk about CAF and WAF, in a comparison, CAF provides you full lifecycle framework to provide guidance and best practices for organizations to adopt cloud, where WAF is focused on optimizing workloads for reliability, security, cost, operational excellence, and performance efficiency. These are 5 pillars. Now, key component in CAF, we have Azure Landing Zone to design our infrastructure, implement our infrastructure in a virtual logical design, governance model, security components. These all things comes under CAF. Where WAF, well-architected framework, this is a kind of assessment tool. This gives you a kind of design guidelines, asking questions, you answer, and then after this gives you information about that these are the design components are missing that you should implement in your organization to improve your security, our cost optimization, our reliability, operational excellence, and performance efficiency in your organization. So this is really great tools that you should use in your organization. So key takeaways, strategy for security and governance with CAF and WAF. So here when we talk about CAF security components, this gives you basic, like, basically we can say detailed information, detailed steps that what you can do for security enhancements or security implementations from basic to advanced. So for business enablement to align to organization business objective and this framework, this is based on zero trust model, assuming breach, explicit verification, and least privilege access is always there in every security implementation. Whereas Azure well-architected framework is a kind of combination of 5 pillars where we have reliability, security, cost optimization, operational excellence, and performance efficiency. Especially for security, this will give you the guidelines for protecting applications and data from threats. And basically, this is based on the design principles, design recommendations. So this is something that we should consider. Now, so in CAF and WAF, you see here, when you talk about CAF, consider following broad security areas. What are these? Let's understand. Envision a security in the state and ensure role and responsibility mapping under zero trust. Consider business alignment in the risk insights, security integrations, and option resiliency. And following the security principle guidelines. In governance, always follow what kind of corporate policy you have for data governance, for any kind of maybe any kind of compliance solutions, what you have in an organization. If you have any kind of baseline design, baseline recommendation in your organization for governance or compliance that we should implement, or align what implementation we have in our cloud towards what we have in the organization requirements. Where WAF is designed for giving you design consideration for identity, protecting infrastructure, application security, data. These are guidelines you see there. So this is something very interesting that we have two different tools. One is for focusing on implementation areas, deployment areas, and another is based on design considerations, what we should implement, what extra things we can enhance in our implementation. Now, what next we have? The next we have MCRA and MCSB. MCRA stands for Microsoft Cybersecurity Reference Architecture, and MCSB stands for Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark. What are these? Let's understand. So when we talk about MCRA, MCRA is a collection of different kind of reference architectures. Basically, this is a part of SAF, Security Adoption Framework. And under this, we see collection of, you can say, lots of different reference architecture. And that reference architecture gives you understanding, gives you idea about how we can go for different kind of security implementations. What comes in securing the identity, what comes under securing the infrastructure, what comes under securing the DevOps environment, what comes under securing the IoT and OT environment. So we have reference diagrams. Basically, you can go to Microsoft Documentation Center and you can download the current MCRA PowerPoint deck where we have all these reference architectures are there. So basically, these reference architectures are like this. Reference architecture for zero trust adaptive access. What comes in security operations, what comes in Microsoft security capabilities, how these are connected to each other, how these are collaborating to each other, what recommendations we have for infrastructure security, what recommendation we have for operations technology, what recommendation we have for development and DevSecOps security. These all kind of recommendations, these all kind of reference architecture we have in MCRA. And this definitely helps security architects, security practitioners, how they can implement these solutions and how these are integrated to each other, how these are working together. So these all things will help you to understand the design principle. So in this, MCRA is a collection of architectures that is describing Microsoft cybersecurity capabilities and what different technologies we have available in cloud. These all different architectures, diagrams, these are based on, like you will get diagrams for cybersecurity capabilities, zero trust and zero trust ramp, zero trust user access, what comes in security operations, SecOps and SOC, what comes in OT, what comes in multi-cloud and cross-platform capabilities, attack chain coverage, Azure native security control, security organizational functions. And in all these, you see how different Azure products are collaborating, are integrating to each other. For Microsoft 365, Azure Cloud, Microsoft Cloud, like third-party application like ServiceNow, Salesforce, third-party platform like AWS, GCP, first and third-party AI capabilities. These are all things you see in this diagram, how these are integrating, how these are working together. So definitely, as security architect, this will give you very, you can say, is a good view, a very detailed view, how we can start using these applications and which application will work with which application together, what kind of benefits we get. These all things comes under these kind of reference architectures. In MCRA, you learn what you have available right now. You also see and you understand which tool you should use for different kind of solutions and services. What kind of data and management plane for security you have. What kind of native controls we have in Microsoft environment, what kind of native solutions we have. Also, what different kind of consistent tooling options we have, protecting privileged access, being prepared for ransomware and extortion attacks. These all guidelines you see in this MCRA reference architectures. Now, apart from that, we have MCSB. What MCSB we have in cloud? So MCSB is Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark. And basically, this is providing you recommendations based on best practice, what best practices we have for different products and services. You get recommendations related to the implementations, related to security, related to network. So basically for workloads, data, services, security, for Azure, for multi-cloud environment, for everything, MCSB gives you security and implementation recommendations. These recommendations we can follow and we can implement solutions to avoid any kind of security related issues, implementation related issues. For example, if I'm going to deploy any virtual machine and maybe that machine is already open for remote access and I'm not using it, for example. So in that situation, you get a recommendation in this MCSB that this virtual machine is enabled with remote access. That may be a vulnerability in future. Any attack pattern or any attacker hacker, they can take the advantage of this. So this will give you recommendation what you can do, like directly exposing the virtual machine to the any kind of remote access solution. Maybe you can go for using load balancer, firewall before that, or maybe using other solutions like Bastion services. So we get different recommendations how we can enhance security towards my implementations, moving around to my deployments and components. So in MCSB security controls, we get recommendations moving around data protection, infrastructure security, data security, network security. These are all things we see. By default, you get ASB, Azure Security Benchmark. That is a kind of baseline. Microsoft gives you recommendations related to Azure implementations, Azure services, Azure components based on these kind of baselines, what we have already there, that Azure security baseline. And that baseline is basically divided in different kind of control domains. These control domains are, like here, if we talk about different control domains, so we have network security, identity management, privileged access, data protection, asset management, logging and threat detections, incident response, posture and vulnerability management, endpoint security, backup and recovery, DevOps security, and governance and strategy. We have short form like NS, IM, PA, DP, AM, LT, IR, PV, ES, BR, DS, and GS. These are the control domains, and you get the recommendations under these categories. Recommendation for identity, for network, for privileged access, for asset management, for data protection, for endpoint security. We get different recommendations. So as soon as we are going to deploy something in cloud, MCSB gives you these recommendations. And this MCSB is the part of MDC, Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Under that, you get this MCSB control domain listed. And if you have resources in your cloud environment, you get the recommendation under these lists. But apart from that, in MCSB, especially not MCSB, but under the MDC, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, you get regulatory compliance recommendations as well. For example, you want to see the assessment based on, like your organization wants to see what kind of security, what kind of compliance recommendations, what kind of security recommendations we have related to any kind of specific standards like ISO 27001 or maybe what kind of security recommendations we have, compliance recommendation we have under NIST or under PCI DSS. So that we can also see, but by default, you get ASB as your security benchmark under this MCSB for your cloud environment assessment. And you get the recommendations for this. So now when we talk about MCRA and MCSB, so we should have clear understanding that why we use these two. So MCRA is a reference architecture collection. It's an architectural diagram that gives you information about what kind of security capabilities we have in Microsoft, how these are working together, where we can use them. And this gives you design considerations. This will give you design ideas. Where MCSB is a collection of security recommendations based on the current state of your organization, the cloud environment, what resources you have, what implementation you have, what configuration you have. This will give you security recommendations, or basically you can say information about security loopholes that can be used by attacker or hacker to gain access or attack to the organization. That loopholes information you see, and following the recommendations, you can enhance security. So where you're looking for the design considerations or you're looking for design understanding, use MCRA, and where you want to see security recommendations, alerts, you can go for MCSB, Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark. So here, key takeaways. So MCRA is for reference architecture, is for knowing about the capabilities and what control we can enable, what are available in that. We have a very well designed reference architecture set that we can use. This will help you to understand, basically this will help you to plan what to use, what services to use, and when to use. Where MCSB gives you different recommendations under different control domains like DP, AM, PV, ES, BR, DS, GS. You see these different kind of recommendations. Like this BR says, ensure regular automated backup, or maybe asset management says, track asset inventory and their risks. These are recommendations that we should follow. And sometimes you see that what kind of configurations are missing in my organization, in my cloud environment. Now, if I come to this, now to summarize everything, what we are talking about since the starting, what comes in Zero Trust RAM is a kind of a quick approach of Zero Trust implementation. In early stage of your deployment, you can go with RAM that comes with very quick or very initial stage of implementations that you can start with, and you can move ahead to the cloud journey. Where Zero Trust is a comprehensive guide, and this may be a time-taking process where you are going to implement security controls and different kind of implementation around 6 different pillars. Where MCRA is a kind of reference architecture. It's a collection of reference architecture that gives you design considerations, what to use, when to use. These things comes under in MCRA. Then we have MCSB. MCSB is a kind of collection of security recommendations based on the current state of your organization. CAF, Cloud Adoption Framework, gives you a guideline or a step-by-step guideline for multi-stage adoption of the cloud. If any organization wants to adopt cloud, so they have different phase in cloud adoption journey in CAF that they can follow, and in a streamlined process, they can start using cloud or adopting the cloud. Whereas WAF is designed for assessing your environment from design perspective. We have this assessment tool for 5 different pillars, especially for security. This will ask questions and gives you design considerations that what is missing based on your answer and what you can do to enhance more security. So these are 6 different things that what we have in this best practice frameworks. Now, some idea about design solutions with best practices for protecting from insider, external, and supply chain attacks. We have many services, many different features. But when we talk about protecting our infrastructure, our cloud environment, what solutions we have in Microsoft that we can consider? So for example, this is a kind of environment where we see different kind of attack patterns, attack chain. Like for attacks from external side, maybe I'm getting phishing email with attachments or seeing some URL or any malicious websites are being browsed. Basis on this, I'm seeing some exploitations, installing some unexpected, unhealthy packages, then moving towards command and control phase. Then the user is compromised, attacker is accessing data, and maybe data exploitation is happening here. Maybe attackers are trying to attack system from inside organization where domain is being compromised, or maybe attackers are trying to manipulate or sending exploitations to IoT devices, disturbing the OT environment. Different kind of attack patterns we can see, like brute force attack here you can see, where user is directly targeted by the attacker. So what different kind of solutions we have for these situations in cloud? If these kind of challenge we are facing, we are seeing towards cloud tenant. So we have different kind of solutions that we can consider to use. Even for insider users, sometimes my insider user, my employees are more vulnerable or they are more dangerous because they know about all in and outs in the company. So they can also be a kind of attacker to send more malicious attack to the system. So do we have something for this? Answer is yes. Now here we have different solutions, especially for phishing email, open attachment, clicking URL, malicious URL we have, or browsing any website URL. Defender for Office 365 we can consider to use. For my IoT and OT environment, to protect them, consider using Defender for IoT. For my devices, where I have my corporate devices, personal devices, for command and control, Defender for endpoint can be used, and especially for Azure infrastructure as a service, where we are talking about Azure virtual machines or deploying any kind of VM environment. So we can consider using Microsoft Defender for cloud. Also for my cloud identity inside the Intra, we have Microsoft Intra identity protection that can protect my identities. But it's possible when we are working in a kind of hybrid environment, we are syncing our on-prem Active Directory system to cloud. So there, my on-prem environment, on-prem domain controller system or identity system may be also a soft target for hacker and attacker. In that situation, we can use Defender for identity for my on-prem identity solutions. Also for applications in my organization, my cloud, if we have applications that we are using, like any application, software as a service applications, or applications what you have in Azure environment, Defender for cloud apps can be used to protect that application and protecting sensitive data. Also, we can consider using, like if we are seeing malicious activities or indicators from an internal user, internal attacker. So insider risk management, this can detect these kind of malicious behavior. We can apply policies to protect this. And in all these, if I'm going to collect all these signals and data, I can collect them in Microsoft Sentinel, analyze it to perform analytics. And in that, Security Copilot can also help to perform analysis, accessing the incident alerts, and giving you suggestions or solutions on how we can prevent it. So these are different components, different products that we can consider using for different situations. So that's all what we have in today's session. So here I would like to present again that we have homework available. So you have to complete this homework where we have design a resiliency strategy for ransomware and other attack based on Microsoft security best practices. where you will complete this common cyber attack and attack patterns, cyber threats and attack patterns discussions. Ransomware protection topic you will cover design solutions for business continuity and disaster recovery BCDR, including secure backup and restore for hybrid and multi-cloud environments, and evaluate solutions for security updates. So these are different kind of topics that you have to complete under homework activity. And tomorrow, in our day 2 session, we will complete these topics. That is mainly based on design solutions for regulatory compliance, where we talk about what compliance solutions we have, Microsoft Purview, Priva, what comes in Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and design solutions for identity and access management, where we talk about identity and access management solutions, requirements for securing Active Directory domain service, what comes in B2B, B2C, design solutions, and many other related discussions. So thank you so much for joining today. It was a great session, and I'll see you tomorrow for our day 2 session with some more interesting discussions. So till then, keep learning, complete your homework, and have a nice rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Technology is moving fast. Closing the skills gap can help your team optimize and stay focused on what's ahead, rather than constantly playing tech catch-up. That's why it's important to keep Microsoft certifications active. Here's everything you need to know about renewing your team's certifications. We have introduced a free certification renewal process for role-based and specialty certifications to help you stay current with skills you need to remain up to date in your job role. Please note that the fundamentals certifications do not expire. In order to renew, you don't need to schedule and take an exam through Pearson VUE. Assessments are shorter than the exam. We encourage you to renew early, as soon as you are eligible. You won't lose time by renewing early, as the extension date is not based on the date that you choose to renew, but 1 year from certification expiration date. To access renewal assessment, you need to connect your certification profile to your Microsoft Learn profile only the first time. Once connected, you don't need to repeat this step in future to access renewal assessments. You can take the assessment as many times as you need. But after the second try, you will need to wait at least 24 hours before your next attempt. Embracing a growth mindset and the need for continuous learning can help you optimize and successfully perform in job roles. With a renewed Microsoft certification, globally recognized and industry-endorsed evidence of mastered real-world skills, you will also be able to demonstrate your proficiency in keeping pace with technology,